Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. In today's video, we're looking at MLB for Draftkings and Fanduel. Draftkings 6-game main slate starting at 7:15. Fanduel has a 4 o'clock main slate, and they do not have some of the 10 o'clock games on it. But let's go ahead and get into it. As always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it for the like button. Subscribe if you have not already. You can hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I post, and you'll have a lot more baseball videos going on now that NBA is almost done. We got the finals. We got a Game 7 coming up on Sunday, which will be fun. But let's go ahead and get into the video. Yesterday, Verlander did not come through. He had a really poor performance. We got some postponements in some other spots. So Verlander did come in popular, as you'd expect, against the Mariners. Same thing for John Gray, with people not having Shane Bieber and some other guys to choose from. Those guys did not come through. The Dodgers stack did. Some of the other hitters did come through. But overall, see if we can get a little bit better luck with the pitching today. First game up for DraftKings, we have the Cubs against the White Sox. Keegan Thompson against Johnny Cueto. Cueto's actually been really good in his 2 starts so far. A decent price tag at 72, so don't mind looking at him. Not looking at Keegan Thompson. He's not a guy that goes very deep. He's kind of like a long reliever type that sometimes will start and go like 3 or 4 innings. He hasn't topped more than 65 pitches, so he's not somebody that I'm looking at playing. A look to the White Sox bats today. They have just such a powerful offense, even without Robert in there. You got some good price tags on Andrew Vaughn, who's been hitting the ball really well. Got some cheap price tags on Gavin Sheets at the bottom. You got a pretty affordable catcher in Grandal, who bats in the middle of the order. And then even on the Cubs side, if you're not playing Johnny Cueto, I'd look to like a one-off Christopher Morel, who one of their top prospects, has hit the ball really well, and he's batting leadoff for them. So he does get you a lot of at-bats and opportunities. We got the Dodgers once again against Merrill Kelly. Kelly's been decent for the Diamondbacks, but the Dodgers, they're just on a really good run right now. They're hitting the ball pretty well. They've seen the Diamondbacks so many times already this season that these hitters are used to these pitchers, and it's very difficult at this point for a lot of the relievers and even some of the starters to consistently get these guys out with how hot Mookie Betts has been. You're getting a lefty-righty matchup for Freddie Freeman. You got Rios at 36, who's been hitting the ball really well. He has like 3 or 4 home runs in his last 10 games, and Chris Taylor is always like a sleeper just because he bats near the bottom, but he's typically always productive when they have a high total and when they have a good matchup. Next game up, we have the Phillies against the Mets here. We got Eflin, who had coming off of a 12 strikeout performance against the Dodgers last start. He's only $6,900. He makes sense for tournaments if you wanted to go that route. Taijuan Walker has pitched well for the Mets this season, but he's not a strikeout pitcher by any means. I think he only has 18 strikeouts in like 30 innings, so he's not somebody that I look to use as my pitcher. In terms of the bats, you got a good price tag on Castellanos, Schwarber. I think the Phillies make for a good tournament stack. The Mets side, the price tags are really expensive. A lot of the top 5 guys are all above 49. You got 5K plus for 4 out of 5 of them. So against Eflin, they're not my favorite stack. Blue Jays against the Angels. Angels dealing with some injuries in the lineup. We did not see Ohtani yesterday, but I think that was maybe just like a maintenance day. But Rendon is banged up a bit, so like 5 through 9 is pretty weak for them at this point. Hopefully they get Ward back in the lineup today. You can look to Ward or Trout against a lefty and Kikuchi. But on the Blue Jays side, you got a decent price tag on Espinal. If you can look to him as a one-off. Tappy at 26. But Blue Jays have had one of the poorer offenses in baseball this season because they're dead last in batting average, and with runners in scoring position, they just can't. They're just kind of reliant on home runs. They're not putting the ball in play when they have runners in scoring position and missing out on extra opportunities. We have some good pitchers to choose from in this game. I looked to Urquidy against the Mariners, even though the Verlander did get hit pretty hard last night, but not going to really scare me off. They only have a 3.7 total, and Urquidy's coming off one of his best starts last start where he had 10 strikeouts. And then last but not least, Musgrove looks really solid against the Pirates. They just have really such a weak off lineup. This lineup is one of the worst I've ever seen in baseball this season. It's right up there. You probably haven't even heard of half of these guys before the start of the season, like Calvin Mitchell. That's probably like one. I haven't heard of this guy, Jack. And so they just don't have very good hitters in the lineup. Don't really have much to worry about. And then the Padres, they look okay against Brubaker, who's actually been okay this season. Machado is always a good one-off. Profar has been boom or bust with the home runs or the strikeouts. And then you got some good price tags at the bottom. But for me, I'm really looking at the Dodgers stack and the White Sox stack. They're my favorites. You can mix in some Phillies just for some value. And you can probably look to 1 or 2 Padres here. Going back to DraftKings, First pitcher I'm going to plug in is Joe Musgrove going up against this very bad Pirates offense. I mean, he's having a very good season, sub-2 earned run average, put up 29 in the first meeting against the Pirates, and he goes deep into games. We've seen him touch 100 pitches, go over 100, and pitching at home is just a pretty good ballpark also to pitch. Second pitcher, you can go with some mid-range options, but I'm going to go ahead and put in your Quiddy at 6K. I think you can also make a case to get maybe Zach Eflin at 69 just for the value and the upside that he does give you. He's a pretty good pitcher, and he coming off of a really good start against a very tough lineup in the Dodgers. And you can also maybe look to Johnny Cueto at 72. He's up there. I mean, I don't know how long this will last, but he hasn't given up isn't given up a run yet. He's pitched pretty deep into games. 6 innings against the Yankees offense is very impressive. But I'll go in with Musgrove and Quiddy, targeting those guys, and then I would look to Cueto and Eflin as 2 other options. Over at first base, plugging in Edwin Rios. Expect him to be in the lineup at this point, whether he's probably being a DH. Muncy's day-to-day, and Muncy's also been in a slump, so even on a good day, wouldn't be surprised if they play Rios over Muncy in terms of the DH. And lefty-righty matchup for him. He's one of the most affordable Dodgers hitters, and he bats like 5th or 6th for them. He has been, and he has hit the ball well against the Diamondbacks. 18 at-bats, he has 2 bombs, 6 hits, has a lot of power, 6 home runs in only 68 at-bats, and 3 home runs in his last 10 games. Over at second base, you can make a case to look to go with some value here. Altuve is the only expensive guy that I have some confidence in, but going up against Gilbert is not the easiest matchup. So I look down to maybe like Espinal at 37 as a value pick. You can look to Christopher Morel at $2,700. The Cubs, prospect has been batting leadoff for them. He's continuing to put the ball in play. He has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game hitting streak, and he has 8 hits in that span, and he does give you some power as well with 2 home runs in his 9 games that he has played so far. Moving on to third base, it's a spot where you can be looking at Machado at 51. I like his price tag compared to Muncy at 5K if he's in there, or Justin Turner at 49. I mean, Turner has the higher total, but I'd rather just go up to Machado for 200 more. Value-wise, look at maybe Alec Boehm at 41. You have Matt Chapman at 37, but he's been struggling this season. He still gives you great defense out there. At shortstop, going with one of my favorite players in the MLB, and that's Tim Anderson at $5,000. Just such a fun player to roster. He gives you home runs. He gives you stolen base upside. He hits for such a high average, and he bats leadoff, so he's always getting those 5, potentially 6 at-bats if they do put up a ton of runs here. And just a good matchup here against a spot where he's going to see Thompson, who's been decent so far this year, but he's also going to get a lot of at-bats against that bullpen. So, just with Thompson not really going deep into games. So, batting .429 in his last 10, I think he looks like a very solid option for us to look at shortstop. And then going over to the outfield, Mookie Betts continuing to mash the ball. Another home run for him last night. It's a very tough fade at this point at 6K with some of the value that we have. Easy to get to him, so I'm putting in Betts once again. Bryce Harper continuing to hit the ball well for the Phillies. If they could get somebody else to step up, it would be nice, but Harper's really trying to carry them. I like him as another pay-up option. And then for value, go ahead and put in Andrew Vaughn. He's only $3,500, first baseman, outfielder for the White Sox. He's on a very nice hot streak, 343 in his last 10. Does give you some power. Does give you opportunities for multiple hits as well. And I do like the fact that the price tag is just really reasonable, $3,500 for the upside that he gives you. So that's what I got for DraftKings. Dodgers, White Sox stack are my favorites. You can mix in some of these other teams like the Padres, the Phillies, based on the price tags. But that's what I got for DraftKings today. Let's go ahead and touch on FanDuel. All right, so FanDuel, the pricing is a bit different. We can go ahead and take a look at the Fantasy Labs for them because some of the games are not the same with them starting at 4, and they do not have the late games. So you have the Rangers against the A's as a first game here. I like Simeon, even though he's been such a bad signing so far. I mean, 0 home runs at this point. They gave him so much money. I think that he's averaging like $30 million a year. He's had a couple of decent games just with hitting the ball, and he does give you some speed, but my God, they did not sign up for 0 home runs at this point. So I do like him against the lefties. And then they play so many catchers, but Garver is decent against a lefty as well. Adolis Garcia looks okay. Not too much interest in the A's lineup. Only guy you could look to, like a couple guys, would be Laureano at 26. Pinder, lefty, so, against the lefties, very good there. You have Garrett Cole going on the mound, so he looks like a great pitching option. And then you have the Giants against Vladimir Gutierrez, who struggles against lefty. So you're looking at LaStella, Yastrzemski, Peterson as the top plays for them. And then you have Alcantara against Tucker Davidson. You're not looking at any of the bats, really. Maybe you can look to some of these Miami bats, but I'm not looking at target against Sandy Alcantara. And I do like the Red Sox offense a bit here. You got Verdugo at 28. Makes some sense there. You can look to pay off for pay off for Devers, pay off for Martinez. Kike's in a good spot. And then the rest are basically the same that we talked about over on DraftKings. So the first guy I put in here was Rios at 23, once again at third base. On FanDuel, you can play him first or third base, so he's very easy to get in your lineup, assuming he's in there. I like Tim Anderson once again at shortstop. Gets a great matchup here against the Cubs bullpen for most of the game. We'll see maybe one or two at-bats with Thompson, but then he'll get the bullpen. And then I like Peterson with how much upside that he gives. He's the righty masher. Coming off of he was in a huge slump. Got off to a great start, then he was in a slump, then he was injured. So that probably had something to do with it. But now that he's back in, he's hitting the ball really well. 4 home runs in his last 3 games with 3 home runs stretched during that span as well. And then last guy, once again, will be Andrew Vaughn at $2,700, just with the value that he gives you. And then we got some, on FanDuel, looking at the Giants offense, the Red Sox offense, the Dodgers, and the White Sox are my 4 favorite. But that's what I got. Hopefully, you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. Best of luck tonight, and I will see you all next time.